It is time for another mysterious, slightly suspenseful yet intriguing story, Nora's Diary. Hello, and welcome back to our channel. Tonight, we're diving into a story that will make you question the very fabric of your reality. Settle in, turn down the lights, and prepare for Nora's Diary. Nora Bennett was a woman defined by her routines. Her apartment was immaculate, a testament to her orderly life. Every morning at 6:30 on the dot, she would lace up her running shoes for a jog. At 9 a.m., a cup of chamomile tea would be steeping on her counter. Her job, cataloging rare books at the city library, was as quiet and predictable as the rest of her existence. Her life was a perfectly curated, silent film of repetition, that is, until the day she took a different path home. Tucked away between a bustling laundromat and a forgotten, boarded-up antique shop, was a dusty little bookstore she had never noticed before. A small bell chimed as she pushed open the door, a cloud of that wonderful old book smell enveloping her. And there, on a small cluttered table, it caught her eye. A diary. It was bound in a deep forest green leather, with no title, no branding, and curiously, no price tag. The pages were thick and cream-colored, promising a smooth writing experience. They were also completely, invitingly blank. Acting on an impulse she couldn't explain, Nora bought it. It would be perfect, she thought, for tracking her routines, her thoughts a new home for her predictable life. That evening, she placed the diary on her nightstand, deciding to start her entries the next day. She fell asleep, blissfully unaware that her world was about to unravel. When her alarm went off, she reached for the diary, ready to make her first entry. But when she opened it, she froze. The first page was already filled, not with a stranger's scrawl, but with neat, looping handwriting that was unmistakably her own. 6:30 a.m. skip jog, rain. 7:15 a.m. call mum, she won't answer. 9 a.m. tea, spill it. Burn hand. 10 a.m. find red book in basement archives, don't open it. Nora stared at the page, her heart starting to hammer against her ribs. She hadn't written a single word. How could she have? She checked the ink. It was dry. She brought the page to her nose. It smelled faintly of lavender, the exact scent of her favorite pen. A nervous laugh escaped her lips. It had to be a prank, right? Or maybe she was sleepwalking. It was the only logical explanation. She decided to ignore it and go about her day. But then, it started. She looked out the window, and sure enough, a steady drizzle was falling. No jog today. At 7:15, she dialed her mom's number, just as she always did on Tuesdays. It rang and rang, then went to voicemail. She wouldn't answer. A prickle of unease ran down Nora's spine. At 9 a.m. while pouring her tea, her hand jittered, sending scalding liquid across her fingers. She yelped, a fresh red burn already forming on her skin. The coincidences were piling up, each one a small chip in her carefully constructed reality. By the time she got to the library, a sense of dread had settled deep in her stomach. At 10 a.m. sharp, driven by a morbid curiosity she couldn't suppress, she went down to the basement archives. And there, wedged behind an old filing cabinet, was a dusty crimson-bound book, a red book. Her breath caught in her throat. Her hand reached for it, but the diary's warning echoed in her mind. Don't open it. She snatched her hand back as if the book were hot. She didn't open it. That night was a blur of confusion and fear. Nora sat on her bed, staring at the green leather diary for hours before exhaustion finally claimed her. The next morning, she woke with a start, a knot of anxiety tightening in her chest. With a trembling hand, she opened the diary. There it was. A new entry. 6:30 a.m. wake up late. 8 a.m. stranger in blue coat watches you on the train. 12 p.m. red book disappears. 3:33 p.m. you hear your name whispered in the stacks. Don't turn around. And just like the day before, every single prediction came true. She did wake up late. On the crowded morning train, she felt a pair of eyes on her, and looked up to see a man in a worn blue coat, staring intently before looking away. At noon, she checked the basement archive. The red book was gone. And then, at precisely 3:33 in the afternoon, while shelving books in the quietest corner of the library, she heard it, a faint, ethereal whisper of her name, Nora. A chill shot down her spine, and every instinct screamed at her to turn, but the diary's command held her frozen. Don't turn around. She didn't. Day after day, the diary wrote her life before she could live it. Each new entry was more accurate, more specific, and more deeply unsettling than the last. Nora's world, once so stable, was fracturing. She felt like a puppet, her strings being pulled by an invisible force that knew her every move. She tried to fight back. She locked the diary in a drawer, but the next morning it was back on her nightstand. She tried burning sage, cleansing her apartment of whatever entity was haunting her, but the scent of lavender on the pages remained. In a moment of sheer desperation, she drove back to the little bookstore and left the diary on the very table where she'd found it. The relief was immediate, but short-lived. The next morning, there it was, sitting on her nightstand as if it had never left. The entries grew more cryptic, more personal. You've been here before, you forgot. Stop asking questions, start remembering. Nora's grip on reality started to slip. Her routines, the very things that had once defined her, were gone. She stopped sleeping, afraid of what she might find written in the morning. She stopped jogging. She stopped trusting her own thoughts, wondering if they were even hers to begin with. Was she going mad? Was this all an elaborate, cruel hallucination? One night, pushed to the absolute edge, she did something she hadn't dared to do before. She flipped through the diary, past the dozens of terrifyingly accurate daily entries, all the way to the very last page. It was blank, pristine, cream-colored paper, waiting, except, not quite, at the very bottom, in that same familiar, looping script, was a single, chilling line: tomorrow, you write the truth. The next morning, Nora woke up with a strange sense of finality. She reached for the diary, her heart pounding. She opened it to the next blank page, and there was nothing. For the first time in weeks, no entry awaited her. The page was empty. The silence was deafening, and in that silence a profound and terrifying understanding washed over her. The diary wasn't predicting her future, it was recording her past. A version of her life she had lived before, forgotten, and was now doomed to repeat. A loop, a cycle, a forgotten life playing out over and over again. She wasn't a victim of prophecy. She was a prisoner of memory. The book wasn't a curse. It was a record of a life she needed to remember in order to escape. She picked up her favorite lavender-scented pen, her hand trembling not with fear, but with a newfound resolve. She brought the nib to the page and began to write her own words, for the first time. 6:30 a.m. wake up. 7 a.m. remember. 8 a.m. break the loop. And for the very first time, as the ink flowed onto the page, it felt warm beneath her fingers. What did Nora remember? How does one break a cycle written in time itself? The story is far from over. If you want to know what happens next, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single beat. We'll see you in the next episode of Nora's Diary. Thanks for watching.